Let's get started with Bite Off 5, everybody. I want to give a training sort of boot camp for those people who are just getting started. If they want to follow along with me, this is day one. I'm going to jump right in. We are going to go and open up NestMaker. Go ahead and go to thenewapehero.com if you need a copy of NestMaker. That's where you can actually grab a license. And then what's going to happen is when you open up NestMaker, you're going to get something that looks like this. Every subsequent time we open this, we're going to load the project, but we haven't created one yet, so we're going to go to new project. And then we get a couple of options. And I don't see any reason why anyone would do anything other than using the middle option here, which says create blank tile sets. Go ahead and click create blank tile sets, and we need to give this a name. I'll go ahead and call this Bite Off 5 test, because I don't even know what it is that I'm creating yet. I don't know what kind of game. I don't have a title for it. I'm going to call it Bite Off 5 test. By the way, if you hear people in the background, I am recording this video from the amazing Bitmass Game Studios here in Barrington, Rhode Island. I've got some students that are cranking on some really cool platformers right now. They're cranking while I am creating for you guys. So I created a blank tile set. I'm going to call it whatever I want to call it. This is the folder name for where my graphics are going to be kept. And then I need to pick a starting module. And a starting module is going to be the basic like input scripts and tile scripts and physics scripts and things that are loaded by default with that module. Now you can edit them to your heart's content. You can pull in other scripts, but we just want sort of a base template to start with. I'm going to recommend that if you've never messed around with NestMaker before, jump into either the maze game or the arcade platformer. I'm going to go into the maze game for right now, and I'm going to hit OK. And what that did, just so I can show you, is you don't need to follow my instruction, but if I go to this gear right here, I can look at my script settings. These are the scripts that it loaded for that module, and particularly these are the tile types that it loaded for this type of game. So when my player runs into a certain type of tile, these are the collision scripts that it runs. We'll take a look at that in a second. But what I want to do today is, on day number one, I want to spend the day sort of grayboxing a maze game. So I haven't thought of a concept yet, but I know mechanics I want to explore is some kind of top-down sort of quasi maze game, Pac-Man, but more advanced, more interesting. So knowing that, I can start building a game without having the graphics. If I go to Pixel Editor, which is over here in my hierarchy tree, I can load up a BMP file right here. There's a little folder icon in this ribbon here. I can load a BMP. These are, if I look, there's that folder that I created, right? I'm inside the folder that I created. These are the tile sets that are associated with this project, and right now they're all blank. It loaded in a whole slew of blank tile sets into this folder when I created it. I'm going to choose the first one, which is BCK-CHR00. Now I have no idea where this game is going to take place or who my hero is going to be, but I do know I could build the mechanics out by Grayboxing. And what Grayboxing is it's building placeholder assets so I can get the mechanics of my game down before I actually think about the artwork. So over here, I've got my subpalettes. And right now, everything's gray in color. However, if I were to draw, I see if I were to grab a rectangle and a color, it looks like I only have three options. And in fact, if I pick one of these options, it doesn't draw the colors that it says. It's actually drawing in red, green, blue. Please take a look at the instructionals on what's going on with the pixel editor. I don't want to cover this too much, but I will show you how to get around that. If you click this button right here that looks kind of black and sort of yellow and orange and pink, it says enable palette translation. This is going to enable what you see here on the screen through these palettes right here, and that's going to show you the colors right here. So when I pick that, it's drawing exactly that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to right click on the first color, and I want this to take place in generally sort of grassland, let's say. Okay, so I'm going to choose green for my ground. And maybe what I'll do is I'll do a darker green and maybe like a path tile color. So that'll give me access to like black, 2 shades of green, and a path tile color. I always want to make the first tile what I want my sort of default tile that my screen is built with to be. So if I was making a Mario game, I would make this like a blue sky. If I was making a Zelda game that took place in the grassland plain, I'd make it green, look like a grass tile. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this green right here. And then I'm going to think about, okay, I want a more sort of interesting looking grass tile, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Because, oh, by the way, I've got this 16 byte grid. This will show you the exact size of a tile. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to use this just to sort of make a little bit more interesting. Now, it might end up looking like I see the pattern too much with this, so I might have to break that up a little bit, but good for now. And, you know, I could also maybe add some shadow with the black or whatever, but whatever. This will be sort of a walkable tile. Now I need a block tile. I'm going to choose the second sub palette here. And I'm going to choose 3 colors, and they're going to be very different colors from what I see here. So maybe what I'll do is I'll do highlight, mid-tone, and shadow. And don't really worry about what's here, what you're seeing here. It's still there. When we're creating a screen, you're going to be able to pick which sub palette you want to use out of the 4 sub palettes that are in a palette. And draw with that. So for right now, I'm going to use this to draw a block. This is a pretty easy way to draw a block. What I'll do is I'll get my shadow color, and I'm not going to go all the way to the corner. I'm going to go one in so it leaves a black outline. Now, if it helps, I can turn on this show grid, and it'll show every pixel. And I'm going to drag not from the one that's like one inside, one down, to one up and one outside. So now what I've got is I've got this black outline right there. I'll turn that back off. You got to see it creates this black outline. You could do that without turning on the grid too. If you screw up, you can Control Z and undo. And then I'm going to make this neutral color, this not highlight, not shadow, just this mid-tone. And I'm going to put it sort of in the middle here. Oh, nope, see, I didn't get it right, quite right. This is where having that grid sometimes can help. And that's good, as long as it's the same on all sides. And then I'm going to get my line tool and use black, and I'll go in the inside here. And then I'm going to connect the corners like this. And this is just making a simple, very standard sort of NES block. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the top highlight like this. And then I'm going to make this side neutral. And it's going to kind of look like the light is coming from this angle right here. That's a pretty standard looking NES solid block. I'm going to save it real quick, and that's all I really need for this step right now. So by saving it, I'm just going to go to Save BMP. And what that did was, you don't have to do this. I'm going to click on the folder. You can see it actually made this graphic, and it made it in this 3-color format that the NES can now see. And it's going to say, I'm going to put all the red through the first color, whatever sub palette I'm using, all the green through the second color, whatever sub palette I'm using, all the blue through the third color. So it made it in this, and then I'm going to push it through a palette. And so if I'm using this sub palette, it'll look like this. If I'm using this sub palette, it'll look like this. If I'm using this sub palette, it'll look like this. So that's why I said, if you want to understand it a little bit better, watch the 12 Days of NESMIS or those tutorials. Important thing is here, we're going to save it. I'm going to click on my overworld map, and I get this map, and I'm going to go into my first screen here. And you can see it filled everything with this 0th tile. So whatever you put there, it filled the screen with, which is why it's easy just to do what's your main base color here. And then I'm going to use my pink, and I'm just going to draw around the outside of this for right now. And there we go. And then I'm going to color green, and I'm going to get that little spot that I missed right there. Okay, awesome. So now I've got this, and I'm going to test this and check this out. And because I know I'm going to get an error, I'm going to show you how to fix it. And that's why I wanted to show you this tutorial. It's pretty easy to fix. I'm going to hit Export and Test, which is this button right here. Or you can go to Test, Export, and Test. What's going to happen is I'm going to get this DOS menu. And this is a really important thing to understand early on. DOS menu, this little window right here. This is the program trying to assemble, and it's going through the assembler, and it got through a certain part of the code, and it says, oh, I don't know what that means. And if it worked, it would tell you that a NES file was written, but it told you that it actually couldn't write the NES file, paused, and said press any key to continue, and now it's going to give me an error. So if you try and run your game, and you get an error like this, it tells you, look where it is. It's in Tiles, Prize Maze Base at line 22. The problem is it's trying to play a sound, and it doesn't know where the sound is because we didn't load any sounds yet. So you've got a couple options. One, you can either load the sounds, or we can edit out this script right here, and that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to do that. So it's in, we could literally follow through and find this in the folder, but we have an actual easier way to do it. I showed you at the very beginning of this video. I'm going to press a button. Yeah. We got an error. It was in a tile. So if I go to my project settings, which is that gear button, and I go to script settings. Now, sometimes it's hard to see what's here, so sometimes you want to grab the corner, stretch it out, scroll down to the prize tile, and you can see there's a section called tile types, and there's one that's called prize maze base. This is the one that gave us the problem. So I'm going to hit edit. And if you have loaded up Notepad++, it'll open in that. If you've just got a text editor, it'll open in that. This was the problem, line 22, if you read the error. I just need to comment that out by putting a semicolon. Don't need to know any assembly code. I just need to comment that out, hit Control S to save it, or file save, depending on what text editor you're in. And guess what? Now we're good. If I run and test my game again by either going to test, export, and test, or by going to this little button right here, which is export and test. Those are both buttons to do the exact same thing. Now I've got my game that I've created. And you can see I've got my HUD area right here, which I haven't done anything with. But this is my main playable area. Awesome. Good to go. I'm going to close out of this. And I'm going to make a character. So same skills. I'm going to go into my pixel editor. I don't want my background tiles anymore. I'm going to open up. I'm going to scroll down to the ones that say game object tiles right there. And I don't want to look at my background palettes anymore. I want to look at my monster palettes, or object palettes is what these really are. They're for all your object graphics like players, monsters, etc. And I could pick a couple colors here. I can do the same thing. I can make like a skin tone maybe, and maybe I really want it to stand out against the green, so red, and maybe like a dark blue like that. So it's actually pretty close to what was already set up there. And I don't have to worry about where I put this stuff, but these are in 8x8 chunks, these tiles. I can make things in 8x8 chunks. I'm just going to make a square man, because remember, I'm just grayboxing right now. Notice that black is not a color that you can use. Black will be transparent. So you can use it, but it won't actually be black. It'll be transparent. It'll show through to the color down below. I'm going to use my shadow color for an X sort of a outline here. I'm going to use my red color inside that. I'm going to use my peach color at the top of that. And then I'm going to draw a little guy here. Great. Very simple gray box character. Obviously, I'm going to make something more interesting than this later. I'm going to hit save. Okay, so now I want to put this guy in my game, and I want him to start moving around. I'm going to show you guys how to do that with a game object. So I'm going to go to game objects and click on player. And you can see he's too small. Remember I said that objects aren't 8x8 tiles in size? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where it says height, change it to 2. Width, change it to 2. And now I can go through and I can make this guy look like the character that I made in the pixel editor. So now I've got this player, and if I hit save, it shows up over there. It looks like that player. But if I want him to work, I'm going to hit object details, and I need to make him a persistent player. Now, the only object I'm going to make persistent at all, ever, is going to be my player. If you want to beg to differ and talk about another object you might make persistent, it's probably because you already understand what persistence means, and then I trust your judgment. If you don't know what that means, the only object we're going to make persistent is your player. Every other object we make, we are not going to tick on the persistent tab. Like if we make a monster, we'll click this one, but not this one. Monster weapon, this one, but not this one. Only the player. Can't say that loudly enough. All right, so I'm going to give him full acceleration speed. So this middle one, I'm going to turn all the way up, and then his normal max speed, just turn it up to about, 32 or so. We can always get in and change this. And the other thing I want to do is I want to say, hey, if he gets to a solid wall, I want him to stop. If I wanted to make more of a Zelda game where these were interconnected sort of puzzle levels, I might say go to next screen on edge object reaction. If I've got him blocked in, if it's more of a Pac-Man game, I would put null. And then when he goes off one side, he'll appear on the other side. So it really depends on the style of game that I want to make out of this sort of top-down maze game. For right now, I'm going to put null because I'm not letting him out of the solid area anyway. Then I'm going to go to bounding box, which is this fourth tab here. And I'm going to select, I'm not going to select the whole guy. Instead, I'm going to click maybe 1 pixel in and 1 pixel down and just select this. And the reason is because I'm moving at sort of a undefined speed. I'm accelerating, I'm decelerating, these kinds of things. And if I want to get up, if I leave a 1 block space, I want to make sure that I can get through it. And if I made this a full 16 by 16 bounding box, I would have to be exact to the pixel lined up to be able to sneak through that opening. So I'm going to hit close on that. You don't have to save. It'll sort of automatically save. Now, if I go to my overworld, double click on the screen, you can see my little guy is showing up right there. And I can right click somewhere on the screen to place my player. If I hit export and test now, I will get my player showing up in the middle of the screen. And there he is. He doesn't do anything yet. I can hit my controllers. You can see I'm hitting my controllers. He doesn't move yet. So let's really quick take care of making him move and stop when he hits the walls. So that's what we're going to get for today. That's a nice little Graybox first day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my scripts, input scripts. I need to add some input scripts. I don't have any in my game yet, so I can't access any. What's nice is a lot of the input scripts I need, if I go to base 4.5, game, I can go to where it says input scripts right here. And I've got a whole bunch of input scripts. The ones I'm going to grab for right now are move down, move left, move right, move up, and then all the way towards the bottom, stop moving. So if I look, I can see what you saw. They disappeared as I double clicked. If I click on the little box, you can see, there we go, move down, move left, move right, move up, and stop moving. Awesome. I've got those 5 scripts loaded into my project. They're going to now compile with my project. Now I haven't told it when to use those scripts, but now I have access to them. So if I go to my input editor, I can start making use of them. Here I see which controller I'm using, which object, which game object it's targeting, and what game state I'm talking about. So for instance, if I pressed the start key on the start screen, I want it to jump to the first level. But if I'm on the first level and I press the start key, I don't want it to jump to the first level again. So I want these controls to be determined by what game state it might be in. I'm going to go to main game, and I'm going to say if I press the right button in the main game, I want them to move right. And I'm going to add that script. And it reads like a sentence, right? If I press right, the player is going to use the move right script. I'm going to do the move right script to this object right here, player, this object. So in the main game, press right, the player is going to use the move right script. Same thing, I'm going to uncheck right, check on down, except for that one, I'm going to make it move down. Uncheck that, hit left, make it move left. Uncheck that, hit that, move up. Now I've got all 4 directions. I press right, he moves right. Press down, he moves down. Press left, he moves left. Press up, he moves up. Next, I'm gonna change this. Notice I can do press or hold or release. I'm gonna change it to release. What I want to say is if I let go of right, he stops moving. If I let go of down, he stops moving. If I let go of left, he stops moving. If I let go of up, he stops moving. So now I've actually got my character able to move. I'm going to export and test. And now I can move around the screen, and he stops moving. Awesome. But he still goes right through the walls. So the last step that we're going to do today is I'm going to make the walls stop me. And then we've got a nice little gray box sandbox that we can start playing in tomorrow. So let's talk about tile collisions. I'm going to close the emulator. I'm going to go back to my overworld. I'm going to go into my screen. I have this button at the top of the screen that says collision. And when I click on it, I can see what byte value is assigned to all the collisions, to all the 16 by 16 pixel areas for the entire screen. Right now, they're all set to 0. And if I look at my collisions, they're right here on top of the palettes. They're walkable, solid, hurt, warp, checkpoint, or prize. Remember when I was in this script settings and I went down, you don't have to do this. If I went down to here, these are the tiles, these are the scripts that those tiles are associated with. So when I run into a tile 0, it's going to do this script. When I run into a tile 1, it's going to do this script. When I run into a tile 2, it's going to do this script. When I run into a tile 3, it's going to do this script. So that's why tile number 1 is solid. And I've got it named over here. If I look at tile types, this is where I can name them. So if I wrote this, solid, no, really, solid, and I hit close, and I came back over here, refreshed it, you can see it's updated to what I named it. The script is still the same. The names are malleable. So if I want to name something different, that's how I could use those labels. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this collision overlay on so I can see all the numbers. Then I'm going to choose solid. How I add these collisions to the game is I move my mouse to where I want to add a collision, and I press the 0 key. And you could, the 0 key on my keyboard. I don't click because if I click, I'm changing the tile. So if I clicked, it would have done this. Oops, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. I don't want to click. I want to move my mouse. I want to hold the 0 key, and I can just drag my mouse across until every one of these blocks is a solid tile. And now I'm going to hit export and test. And now what'll happen is this guy is now going to stop when I hit the walls. So that's how I've got a basic Graybox sandbox up and running in about 20 minutes to get started with my bite off entry, doing some kind of top-down style, either maze or basic adventure game. I hope that helps everyone who's just starting out get started. And I know I moved through that very fast. I'm going to move through these very fast. If you want deeper dives, definitely check out some of the other tutorials on the website. But we're going to go through and we're going to do a boot camp for all those of you guys who are just starting. And I definitely want to venture into how to make this unique and your own game and get into the scripting a little bit by the end of this as well. Thanks for checking it out.